All right, but we're going to begin with new attacks on both sides of the war with Iran this morning. Last hour, we heard from Iran's supreme leader for the first time since he was named. Iran state TV delivered a written state from Mojtaba Khamenei. He called for U.S. bases to be closed and attacked in the region, and for the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. Now, yesterday's attack on a Thai flag tanker is being seen as a foundational moment in this war. Iran has launched new attacks today. Now, this all follows President Trump's suggestion last night that there is little to nothing left of Tehran's military.
They are pretty much at the end of the line. Doesn't mean we're going to end it immediately, but they've got no Navy, they've got no Air Force, they've got no anti-air traffic, anything. They have no systems of control. We're just riding free range over that country.
CBS News chief correspondent Matt Gutman joins us from Tel Aviv, Israel now. So, Matt, we just heard what the president said. What are you hearing about Iran's military capabilities?
It's obviously more complicated than what the president said. Iran has been preparing for this moment for decades. This is what they have sort of been ready for, and they have a strategy, and that strategy is to disrupt, delay, and deplete, right? They want to disrupt shipping lanes. They want to disrupt the economies in places like Israel, all of the Gulf states, and then they want to deplete both financial resources, emotional resources, and those anti-missile systems that most of the countries in the region have been using. And that strategy seems to be working. We also have to understand that Iran's is very decentralized in some of its military capacity, right? It doesn't really have an air force. It doesn't really have air defenses. The president is absolutely right about that. Its Navy is significantly depleted, but it does have many thousands of various kinds of missiles, including anti-ship missiles. And that's what we are told were being used in the Strait of Hormuz against at least one ship, possibly others. They have been hit by projectiles. And what is absolutely clear is that even though Iran's missile capacity has been significantly decreased, and there are various numbers that are associated with that, and whether they were all destroyed or neutralized and could be rehabilitated in the future remains in question. What is clear is that they still have the military capacity to keep a stranglehold on the choke point of the Strait of Hormuz. There are no ships coming in and out without Iran's say-so, exactly as Iran has been saying on state media, exactly what it has been warning the U.S. and Israel and the Gulf states. So they are going right according to their game plan. I guess the question is, what is the U.S. game plan at this point?
Yeah, it is surreal, Matt, to often hear the president saying that this war is nearly over, that Iran's military has been decimated, when you or one of our colleagues does a live shot from Tel Aviv and you hear the air raid sirens going off, right? And so there's that wrinkle. And now let's talk about the Strait of Hormuz, because you've got some new data about this backlog and how Iran appears to be capitalizing on the chaos. Break that down for us.
Absolutely. Their whole idea is to make this extremely painful for the Gulf states, for Israel, for the U.S., and now the entire world, right? A fifth of the world's oil, a large part of its LNG, liquefied natural gas, a lot, like a third of the fertilizer goes through this 20-mile-wide choke point at the Strait of Hormuz. And not all of that is navigable. We're talking about a 6-mile channel, 2 miles going one side, 2 miles going the other, a 2-mile buffer in between. And Iran showed that they were able to hit a ship right at the very narrowest point at will. So they are blocking traffic. They are also telling insurers that it's a really bad idea to insure any tankers or commercial vessels passing through there, and basically stopping, in some ways, part of the global market. 500 tankers are stuck in the Persian Gulf because of this, up to 4,000 ships. We're not sure how many of them are commercial, but it is a vast amount of the world's supply chain that is bottled up because Iran wants it that way. And so analysts tell us that over the past 72 hours, they have really taken control over the narrative and the pace and the way that this war is being fought, essentially forcing the U.S. to either come to some sort of deal or pour even more resources into the Strait of Hormuz, into the Persian Gulf, in order to, quote unquote, open it up. Right now, we don't have the kind of personnel in the area that can actually land on shore and make sure that it's clear so that ships can pass. That is a massive operation. And it's unclear if U.S. ships in the area have the capacity to be able to escort other cargo ships through. So this is only going to get worse, I think, before it gets better. Much more complicated in the days to come. Vlad and Kelly.
Yeah, certainly, Matt. And I mean, obviously, we've seen what's happening with oil prices because of exactly what you're saying and the ripple effect. Before we let you go, we did hear some planes overhead. Were there alerts? Just sort of give us context for those that were seeing that.
Yeah, just a few minutes ago, we had an alert, but just now. So the airport in Tel Aviv, which is the main airport, is closed, but there's a lot of traffic. What is it? Typically, it's these Globemaster fuel tanker planes that are constantly doing this route right above our heads. So a lot of cargo planes, military planes as well. A lot of the refueling is happening in this area. So lots of activity, but not the commercial kind. And, you know, in terms of that, it's pretty much paralyzed here in Israel and across the Gulf and the region.
Matt,
Kealy.
one other thing real quickly before you go, which is that even as Iran's military and navy is being decimated, Hezbollah has continued to launch attacks against Israel. They are proxy for Iran. So again, to your point about how complicated this is, the Iranian military may be nearly destroyed, but these proxies are still carrying on their military activities.
And this is part of the greater strategic plan of Iran, right? This is why they spent countless billions of dollars building up Hezbollah, building up the Houthis in Yemen, building up proxies in Iraq, so that they can defray the cost of the war, they can take the casualties, and it takes the burden off of Iran, right? So Israel has sent hundreds of sorties to Lebanon in recent days. That means hundreds of fewer sorties on Tehran. That's exactly the point. That means that each day that Israel is attacking Lebanon, there are fewer planes attacking Iran. This is, I am told, all part of their plan, Vlad.
All right, Matt Gutman, thank you.
Former U.S. Ambassador to Israel Dan Shapiro appeared on CBS News Mornings earlier today to discuss Israel's role in this war and how it could change moving forward. Here's some of what he said.
I was in Israel for the first week of the war, and despite daily 6, 8, 10 missile warnings, both from Iran and from Hezbollah, I would say there was grim determination by most of the Israeli public to continue because they see this as a maybe once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to try to bring down a regime in Iran that has been their adversary and in some way torturer for decades. Obviously, the Ayatollah's son has been appointed, although he hasn't been seen, but he's been appointed as the new supreme leader. It appears the main structure of the regime is holding. There's an ideological core. There are hundreds of thousands of people under arms who are really fighting for their survival, both the regime's survival and maybe their own personal survival. So I think it's unlikely the regime is going to crumble in a short period of time. And I do see the possibility that there's going to be a real divergence of goals between Israel, which would like to continue and try to pursue that objective, and the United States, which now President Trump has to deal with rising oil prices, supply chain disruptions, markets dipping, economic and infrastructure damage among the Arab states who are on the receiving end of so many of these attacks. I think the president is more likely to look for an off-ramp and a way to declare mission accomplished, that the degradation of the main capabilities, missile, nuclear, and naval threats that Iran poses have been accomplished, even while a weakened regime is left in place.
The former ambassador also says he thinks Israel will continue to strike forces like the IRGC that were crushing Iranian protests back in January, and hopes that the people of Iran might rise up and overthrow the regime themselves.
Let's turn to CBS News Middle East contributor Courtney Kealy. You're here to provide more context about the intense fighting that we're seeing with Israel and Lebanon. So kind of describe the escalated sort of fighting that we've seen on both sides and how Lebanon factors into all this.
I can bring you voices from both Beirut and northern Israel because I lived nearly a decade between the two. I'm also talking with people in Tehran. So what happened last night was Hezbollah unleashed a barrage of missiles, about 200 missiles over the border and about 20 drones, and Israel responded. But Israel has also been hitting Hezbollah targets hard. But last night, while I was on the phone with one Lebanese person whose family is buried in a cemetery in Bin Shbeil in the southern border, it's personal for people. We realized that an attack on the beach was a block away from a friend who I just got off the phone with. And that beachfront attack was on a car and was most likely a targeted assassination. Israel has incredible intelligence on things like this. But it's really the center of Beirut. It's really on the beach. People were along the Corniche because it's Ramadan. They're out late. And on the beach, it was displaced people in tents that are there because they had to flee Dahia in the southern suburbs, which is a Hezbollah stronghold, and southern Lebanon. So I also spoke to somebody who had spoken to the people that were living there right now, just temporarily displaced. So it's happening within the civilian population, and there were 8 people killed, not just the target in the car.
So, Courtney, you know that this U.S.-backed ceasefire agreement established in 2024 was supposed to end temporarily the fighting between Hezbollah and Israel. It's been obviously broken. The president says the U.S. is monitoring the situation. I want to play a bit of that.
We're working on it very hard. We love Lebanon. We love the people of Lebanon. And we're working very hard. We got to get rid of that. Hezbollah has been a disaster for many years.
To say the least, that's an understatement. But what kind of ceasefire talks are happening?
They're broken.
Yeah.
It's completely broken. The Lebanese president did try to reach out and reestablish contact. That was rebuffed.
With the U.S.
With the U.S. Yeah, Hezbollah has taken over. But also people, very credible journalists have pointed out there's been between 10,000 to 15,000 ceasefire violations over the last 15 months. And 350 people were killed, including Hezbollah, but civilians and children. So this was ongoing, low level, until Khamenei was killed. And then you had Hezbollah react. But the problem right now is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is saying that Hezbollah and they are carrying out these attacks together on Lebanese soil. So as Matt Gutman said, it's going to draw the Israeli army towards a new front. If you think of just the sea and then the border and then the valley between the mountains, it's kind of like a U where the Israelis will probably go into southern Lebanon more and into the Bekaa Valley, which has always been a training ground traditionally for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, among many things. So this is kind of, for the people that remember, they remember Israel moving into southern Lebanon in 1982 and staying there till 2000. But as one friend said, I feel like my country is being destroyed and it's the end of Lebanon, but it's not going to happen. And they always are resilient. And my friends in northern Israel, are saying, we have shelters. My family in Nazareth is okay. My family in Haifa is okay. But the reach of the missiles, when Hezbollah shows its hand, which is very rare, it really shows how much reach they have and what an arsenal they have. And so this is a real escalation of a different war front that is not good, while Iran is enduring airstrikes and hoping that the regime somehow will crumble.
It's so wonderful to have the context that you can bring us from your network and your experience in the region. I do want to ask, though, because this has been confusing to me, we've seen very little from some of the other Iranian proxies like the Houthis, like Hamas. Why is that?
Well, Hamas has pretty much been decimated. They don't really have the power. They don't have the ability from Gaza to do anything at all. And that's a stagnant front right now with the Board of Peace not really being able to do anything just yet. The Houthis, there was a divide between the Saudis and the Emirates and the support they had. So there was a split between the support they were getting and then also they're still fighting for their own land, for Yemen. And then I'll just tell you, one person in Tehran is speaking to me now too, and they say they're starting to lose hope.
Wow. All right, Courtney, always great to have you, my friend. Thank you. Appreciate it.